All right. Welcome everybody. I have people who are texting now that say they might come in late. They want me to record it. I'm just so happy you all could be here. We're trying different Sundays. If you are participating in the app conversation on the app, it was suggested by a few people in the community to like maybe try some different Sundays and instead always the first one or the last. So this summer or the last couple months, we've been trying some different Sundays to see just how it works. And as a community, we'll land somewhere by fall, and if that changes, it'll change. But so thank you everybody for being here. And I'm really excited. If you got the email last week, we are here to talk about it. The overthinking. I'm telling y'all. I'm telling y'all. And today I'm gonna give three steps to either stop overthinking or just be aware that you're overthinking and try to shift it. As you all know, I work with a lot of different professional women and women just in general with this thing overthinking. And this sort of thing start coming up a lot, not only with my clients, but for myself. I like to, as many of y'all heard me say, I am a recovering overthinker. So I'm in recovery, and recovery is a day-to-day process. If you're familiar with the real recovery, it's you take it one day at a time. And if you backslide, then you know, you just take it for the next day, right? You start over. So today, the three steps I'm going to give you guys is the science, the spirit, and the practice. So we're going to look at these three steps from the science, right, of what our brain is kind of going through, the spirit, so more of a spiritual approach to what we may be experiencing, and then a practice to sort of help us through that. So first, a lot of these exercises are intuitive led. So either write down, you can put in the chat, what is maybe something you overthink chronically, right? So if there's not one particular area you feel like you might overthink a lot, like it might be your work or your career or your relationships, and it could just be in general, just day to day, like I'm just, it doesn't matter what the subject is. But if you could think about something particularly you feel like you overthink, write that down, jot it down, put it in the chat. And it's intuitive led, so whatever comes up is obviously what's needed. And y'all know I do this exercise with y'all, so besides when I do it myself. So I'm gonna see what comes up for me today. I overthink everything. Yep, a general overthinker. That's more me too. I'm more of a general overthinker. Every decision is going to be thought of about 25 times. Okay, so we have in the chat. Um, she put out, I overthink everything, my future. Today I am overthinking being a victim in a fraud scheme. Oh my God, and feeling like a clown. Girl, let's get into that. Because, yeah, thinking the thoughts behind the decisions that you make. So that can be also where overthinking comes, right? You make a decision, and then after you make that decision, you start thinking about everything that led up to that decision. How did I get to this point? Why did I get to this point? And you picking apart every aspect of you arriving at the decision. And then some people overthink before they get the decision, right? So analysis by paralysis. It's like I'm thinking about so many factors that it takes me such a long time to make a decision. And even then, when they make a decision, they may overthink that. Like right now, they second guessing themselves, and now they're replaying it, over and over and over. So that is definitely going. And we can work through you hopefully with that the scheme and see how you can maybe stop overthinking that. Okay, so all right, for the first one we're gonna do is name the thought, not the feeling. So with most of us, when we thought of this overthinking, even sort of how Kina said, she sort of was like, you can almost feel the emotion in something like that, right? A fraud scheme and feeling like a clown, like she went right at her, feel like a clown. So we're going to name the thought and not the feeling associated with the question. I mean, the thing you feel like you overthink right now. So I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes to do that. Actually write down the thought. Let me get this other piece of paper. And feel free if y'all feel comfortable to talk. So I ain't the only one talking, but y'all can just do it all through the chat if y'all want. But you free. You can do what you want. However you want to participate. So does anybody either want to share what their thought was? And I'll give an example if it just helps. So with mine, I put losing weight. Of course, I was like, really, that's gonna come up today? Why? But that's what came up. So the feeling for that I would have is anxious, right? So, but instead of us putting the feeling, we're going to put the thought. So the thought is, I think I'm going to fail. I think I'm going to fail again. So that's the thought associated with that that thing or situation I overthink. Anybody want to share what they have? Because we're gonna work through this in real time. All right. Shantae, yes.
Sorry, I'm driving, but
Oh, that's
my
fine.
mine's is like I faith in me and the person I am and just kind of knowing things always work out. My thing is when and how it's going to work out.
So what's the thought that actually comes? Because if we're overthinking, we're actually having thoughts. So what is the actual thought?
How is this going to work out? When is this going to work
There we
out?
go. There you go. How is this going to work out? You said, how is this going to work out? And when is this going to work out?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anybody else want to share theirs? And Keena sort of said how to, so I'm thinking that's resonating with her as well. So the science sort of behind when our brain is doing this, right? The way you guys said it now, even the way I said it, it seemed very general, right? One thought. And I think lose weight, I'm thinking I'm going to fail again. What program should I get into? Is this thing I'm doing going to work, right? All of these. Even when you said with you're thinking in the future, you think how is this going to work? When is this going to work, right? That seems like just very general, right? That's not overthinking. That's just saying one or two things. But it's how that thought has 50 other thoughts associated with it, right? So now it becomes how's this going to work out? Am I going to have to do this? Am I going to have to do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? Will I do this? Is this going to have, and then it's all of the other questions that's within a basic question, right? Or a basic thought. And it's almost like I feel it's like you crack it open, right? It looks like, oh, it's just one little thought. And then you crack that thing open and then like 50 thoughts flood out of it. You're like, oh my God, that probably was just one simple thing. Because that seems like a simple thing. When is it gonna work? For me, I think I'm gonna fail. Now we know consciously we could tell ourselves that, right? Like, oh, you could or you couldn't, and this, and then you start thinking all that stuff, right? So the science basically says when our brains do that, it can't detect the difference between a real physical threat or a fake threat, right? So when you start overthinking, let's talk about what the body starts doing, right? So your cortisol hormones start to raise, which is your stress hormone levels, right? Because these thoughts are concerns, right? They're concerns, and they come with a feeling, right? Anxious, worried, nervous, those are normally associated with the overthinking. And so when our body is releasing that cortisol, it's sensing a threat. And so our body doesn't know if we're really under threat or we're not. So it's gonna respond as if we're worried. Something's about to happen, fight or flight, you know. So that's sort of what our brain is doing. And just to give you a little bit more, cognitive neuroscience shows that naming a specific thought or emotion activates the prefrontal cortex, the rational executive part of your brain, and actually reduces amygdala activity. This process is sometimes called affect labeling. In plain terms, naming the thought can calms the alarm. It creates distance between you and the experience and gives you access to clearer thinking. So anybody kind of resonate with what that is, of like that, how that kind of shows up in their body? Because the moment you're having that thought is attached to a feeling, right? When is it going to happen? That's attached to anxiousness, right? So then that sets off the alarm for the body. But by being able to name it and not connect to the feeling of it, get it out of you, right? This is why journaling is powerful, writing out, coaching, talk therapy. These things are good because you're taking it and you're bringing it out of your body, and that provides a little distance from you and it, so that your body doesn't know, oh, this isn't harm to us. This is more of an observing type of thing. So the spiritual practice that I like that goes with this is really mindfulness practice. So and it's sort of like a witnessing within. Different practices, different spirituals kind of do this, but it's sort of going and being more of an observer of your life than really always being a participant in it. So it's sort of being objective, is being able to kind of step out of the situation and be able to look at it without the feeling and nervousness attached. Has anybody ever done something like that before, and where you sort of was able to process something, and once you started processing it, you didn't feel the emotion as much, like it kind of helped you have a little bit of an outside perspective from it? Shantae put yes. That's awesome. Dana did heart, so I'm assuming yes too. So that shows that process, really helps to be able to process this with someone. Now, even when you are talking to someone about it, like she was like the scam thing, if you dissect it with someone and say, well, what led you to the decision? Well, this person made me believe this. They told me this. I did my due diligence. I did this. And when you start kind of talking factual, about it, even when people talk to attorneys about things, they almost feel better, like, okay, I kind of looked at it just from like a perspective, and then someone's able to frame it in a way to say, okay, it's, you took the emotion out of it, so you're able to get a little bit more clarity on it. So that practice of being able to have what I call the witness pause. So when you feel overwhelmed, place a hand on your chest, take 3 slow breaths, then say out loud, I am not this thought. I am the one who is aware of this thought. This is not denial, it is perspective. You are reminding yourself that the thought is something you are having, not something you are. And the reason why I love that practice is because we can start believing who we are. Yeah, like Shantae put, I like this mantra. We can start associating who we are with our thoughts. So that can be tricky. Um, so yeah.
Keisha, okay, mute your phone. Keisha, mute your phone.
I'm about to say, Keisha, you'll mute. If she could hear it. Yeah, I think she just did. Okay. So the second one is challenge the quality, not the volume. Okay. Once you have named the thought, the next instinct.
I'm gonna turn it off because I can't hear.
I'm a mute her. She said she can't hear. I just muted her. Once you have named the thought, the next instinct many people have is to try to think less, to quiet the mind, to force a silence. This is where most people get stuck because the harder you try not to think something, the louder it gets. Anybody had that experience where you say, I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to let it go. And now you even think about it even more. A great thing when I first got into meditation, I thought that's what meditation was, right? It was like making your mind. Oh, hold on. Keisha said, sorry, she hit me. Okay. Sorry, it's this fly. And yeah, it just keeps harassing me. But what was I saying? Sorry, I was trying to get her out of that for the mute. But yeah, you start trying not to think something. So I thought meditation was making your mind and thoughts stop. I promise you, when I first started it, and I'm like, okay, quiet the mind, quiet the mind. I started thinking about everything. I started thinking about my fourth grade teacher. I started thinking about this. I started thinking, and it felt like it was even more. And then even sometimes, like when you try to suppress the thought, like I'm not going to be negative. You know, you might sort of either spiritually bypass or you may positively bypass, right? To say like, I'm just going to put it in God's hands, or you know what, I'm just going to hope for the best. And you kind of do that, but then you start sort of spiraling. Has anybody had that before where you try to stop your thoughts and it seems like it gets worse or you start thinking about it more? So some people put yes, I have, absolutely. So the real work is not reducing how much you think, it's raising the quality of what you think. So I have the 3 questions that will carry you through this step. So with the question that you wrote down, and if you just joined us, I wanted you to write down something or that you overthink a lot, right? It could be something, your career, it could be a relationship, it can be anything that just comes to mind. It's intuitively led. And write down what that was. Mine was lose weight. After that, you were to write the actual thought that's associated with what you feel you overthink. Mine was, I think I'm a fail again. We had other people put, how is this going to work out? When is this going to work out? So now we put the actual thoughts behind what we feel we overthink. So now these 3 questions from what you wrote down, I want you to say, is the thought true? That's the first thing. Is the thought true? So with yours, just instinct, when you thought, how is this going to work out? If you can reduce that to another thought, right, that brings the worry. Because when you're saying how and you don't know and not knowing, that's sort of, there's more thoughts under there. But is that thought true? Because most overthinking is going to be boiled down to thoughts that stem from fear. So really, how's this going to work out says a lot of like, you know, if I don't, will I have to do this? Or, when is it going to happen? Is it 20 years, 30 years from now? That means I have to do this until this, right? So whatever you can associate, is that thought true? Then is the thought useful? Is the thought useful? So with mine, I think I'm a fail again. Is that even useful? No. So far, both of my answers are no. No, it's not true. No, it's not useful. And then, is this thought actually mine? Hmm. So most of the thoughts driving our overthinking cannot pass all 3 of these questions. They are half truths borrowed from old wounds, other people's fears, or stories we've absorbed so long ago we forgot they were ever a story at all. So I don't know, Keena has shared with hers about her feeling like a victim in a fraud scheme and feeling like a clown. What are the thoughts associated with that? Is that, I trusted somebody and it didn't work out that they were trustworthy. That makes me dumb. That makes me not smart. That makes me a bad person. That makes me not clever. That means I don't have discernment. That means like what does that mean, right? I didn't do my due diligence. I trust people blindly. I'm naive. Are these things true? I don't know. Are they yours? Who said we're not allowed to have a broken heart? Who said we're not allowed to make these mistakes? And we went out and did what we are, thought we should do as humans, and now we're just idiots. No, not necessarily. So those are the three questions that you can ask. So the science behind this is cognitive distortions. Oh my God, y'all, I've learned so much about cognitive distortions, not only just in my own therapy journey, but I'm working with a lot of clients of that. The human brain has what neuroscientists call a negative bias. This means our brains are wired to give more weight to negative information than to positive information. And so cognitive behavior therapy, which if you've ever been in therapy, 9 out of 10 they had you do at some point, is one of the most well-researched approaches in psychology, that's built on the understanding that our thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are interpretations, and interpretations can be inaccurate. I'll let y'all sit with that. Thoughts, y'all. They are interpretations. And guess what? Interpretations can be wrong. Sometimes I think my thoughts are speaking a language that I ain't even learned. It's speaking it's speaking Hindu or it's speaking French. I don't know French. I'm just saying I'm based off of how you move it, I'm just guessing what you mean. So common cognitive distortions include catastrophizing. I have 2 clients now that, oh my God, everything is the end of the world. And then they come back like, they ain't nothing, but it's a process to get them that. They naturally go there. And where we assume the worst outcome is certain. Mind reading, when we are assuming we know what others are thinking, and all or nothing thinking, where everything is either perfect or a complete failure. That's cognitive distortions. And they seem like I wouldn't do that, but when you really dive down into a thought and you start processing it, you'll normally see one of these things, right? You're making a lot of thoughts based off of other people are thinking, right? I know they're gonna think I'm a quitter. They're gonna think I'm dumb, or they're thinking this, so I gotta think this, and it becomes a whole thing. So anybody want to comment on that or just have any words about that with the thought and the cognitive distortions and just how they can be interpretations? And Keena put in the chat, absolutely. A lot of exclamation marks, all of that. Shantae put, this is good. So even thinking of my own example, I think I'm going to fail again. It even said a lot of thoughts are from old wounds. It's pulling from a past experience. Doesn't mean it's going to be true for this time. And then if our brains are more wired to go on the negative, right, it's going to put more weight behind the negative, then most of that stuff is going to feel like it's real, but it's not. It's just an interpretation. So the spiritual practice behind this is there's a lot of different spiritual practices that have what in Christianity called discernment. And other spiritual is intuitiveness. And so in many indigenous wisdoms, there's a teaching of 2 wolves, right? And that is, you have 2 wolves, right? One is fear, doubt, and the other wolf is, hope and faith. And it's like basically whichever wolf you feed is the one that's going to grow to be the biggest and the strongest in your body. So those thoughts are literally what those wolves are eating off of. So if you're thinking this is not going to work, this always happens to me. Why does this keep, happening? I'm not good at this. I can never get ahead. Life is always setting up to set you down. You got to fight through life every day. You got to work hard, right? All of these little drops are feeding that big bag negative wolf. Meanwhile, this positive wolf over here, you can see the ribs, his legs all shaky. And then you out of all those negative, you'll give it a good thought like, well, this may work out. Everything works out for me in the end. It's gonna be okay. That's all he eating off of. But you gave the bad wolf 50 of those thoughts. and you gave a skinny little wolf that you can see his ribs and his hair is falling out. He just want to eat a little bit more. Just want to eat a little bit more. So the practice for this is what I call the alignment test. So after you name a thought, hold it gently and ask, does this thought expand me or shrink me? Does it correct me? Does it connect me to love or separate me from it? Does it feel like truth or does it feel like fear dressed up as truth? And you don't need to have the perfect answer immediately. Learning to feel the difference itself is the practice. So when we talked about the mind and not or thoughts and not being able to just stop your thoughts, it's really about what thoughts are you going to really let take up the most real estate in your brain, right? Because you're going to have some of those, right? Like, ooh, I don't know if this is going to work out. Ooh, it's okay to have those natural thoughts or have those, worries, but it's constantly thinking it. This is where the overthinking starts really burning us down and really starts drilling us down. So that's a beautiful practice. I would say try. So for the thought you had written down, right? We wrote it down. We wrote down the thought. We answered those 3 questions. Any thoughts or feedback just on what up to point, 2 that may have came up for you or resonated or sparked a thought about? All right, y'all quiet today. Okay. So the last one is replace, don't suppress. Give your mind something better to follow. So the final step is where everything comes together. You have named the thought, you have challenged the quality. Now comes the practice of replacement. And this is the part that most approaches to overthinking get completely wrong. Suppression does not work, which we talked about. Tell your brain to stop thinking something. It's like telling someone not to picture a pink elephant. Y'all ever did that exercise in, work or training where it tells you, don't think of, and then somebody describes it and that's exactly what you naturally start thinking. It's so cool. I love when people do that. So the instruction itself creates the image. What does work is redirecting, giving your mind a higher quality thought, a better question, or a more useful direction to follow. Now this is where it gets fun, y'all. This is for me was a game changer in the recovering overthink. Sometimes it is not, and not even sometimes, it is really not the quantity of our thoughts. It is really the quality of our thoughts. Don't nobody ever come to me about overthinking when good stuff is happening. Oh my God, I've been overthinking about all this great stuff happening, how I got breath in my lungs, I'm able to walk, I'm able to have people that love me. Oh my God, I'm just I keep overthinking about how great I feel sometimes when this happens, or how I'm able to feed myself these days, or how, I don't have this terrible disease, or that. Nobody ever overthinks awesome things. Or, oh my God, I'm overthinking about this project I get to get, and I'm so excited, and this and this and this. So if they're overthinking about project, it's the ways that it could go wrong. Oh, I'm overthinking if I don't get to do it right, or I got this big opportunity and I don't want to mess it up. And then nobody ever goes to overthinking about great stuff. It's always right. So it's the quality of our thoughts. That is what we want to sort of redirect ourselves to, right? So giving y'all a little bit of the science behind this, your brain is not fixed. This is one of the most important discoveries in modern neuroscience. And I'm obsessed with neuroscience lately, y'all. Who would ever thought I'd been this science person? But throughout your life, your brain is constantly forming new neural corrections and letting old ones weaken through a process called neuroplasticity. I love neuroplasticity. Without even reading, let me just read it because then I'm gonna go off a tangent. The I just love the science stuff to it. Um, uh, All right. Okay. Throughout your life, your brain is constantly forming new neural connections and letting old ones weaken through a process called neuroplasticity. The pattern you repeat most frequently becomes the grooves your thinking naturally falls into. Overthinking is a groove. It is a well-worn, natural neural pathway that your brain has traveled so many times it becomes a default route. But here's what the science confirms. Every time you consciously choose a different thought or a better question, you are beginning to build a new pathway. The old groove does not disappear overnight, but it weakens with disuse. The new one strengthens with practice. So the way that I got this was that the groove and in our neuroplasticity, right? You get in the habit of right thinking these things. It's so natural, subconscious. You don't ever have to say, okay, let me sit down and actually think how things could go wrong, right? You didn't, it was real easy to say how this is gonna work out. It just came just like this, right? Because you've been wired that. And it's almost like a path, right? You walk that path and after a while it gets worn, right? It gets worn and you can start sort of see where that trail is. And then it's nothing to follow the path. You don't even have to pay attention. You're on autopilot. You see where the groove is. That's sort of how our brain is going when it comes to these thoughts. They are so used to being thought that you're not really thinking because it's just habitual, right? It's just following the path. And so what they say in neuroplasticity is that what neurons that fire together wire together. So that means when you have this neural pathway of just these thoughts, and then it's the emotions that's fueling it, and then they doing all this stuff, they just having them a good old time. And so part of you has to interrupt that. You have to interrupt that. You got to go a different path. You got to interrupt that process. And so even if you don't feel it, but you start thinking it, after a while, your body will catch up with it. So that's the really great thing about it. And so the ways that we can do that is by asking ourselves a question. So with what you wrote down, I put losing weight. I think I'm a fail again. We asked those 3 questions. Mine was no, no, no. And now we're going to say, what is a better question I can ask myself instead of having the thought? So with hers, even said, how is this going to work out? You can even, if you want to keep it general, it can say, how could it not work out? Right? It can be rearranging it into the affirmative instead of into the negative. When is it going to work out? Reframing. What if it's happening right now? Right? So it's having those more quality questions to redirect the overthinking thoughts and asking yourself better questions. So if you can write in the chat or if you could think of what is a better question you could ask yourself for the thought that you wrote down. What is a quality question you could ask yourself? What we want to do is we want to replace a low quality thought with a high quality question. This is all like we do in coaching. All we asking is high quality questions. What's a good question you could ask? I'll do my example again. So instead of I think I'm going to fail again, my question could be, has there been a time where you have failed at something, but ultimately you were successful in what you wanted to achieve? Absolutely. So it's even doing that way. So Shantae put, doesn't it always work out? Absolutely. Doesn't it always work out? High quality question. And she put in a question form, high quality question. And her thought was a question. How is this gonna work out? When is this gonna work? So she answered her low quality question with a high quality question. I love it. Perfect. With the one with Keena's where she's like she's overthinking being a victim in a fraud scheme and feeling like a clown. what could be a high quality question, even if somebody else can help her with that? What could be a high quality question for that? Is there another time in your life you've been a victim and you were able to get through it? Or is there another time that you were victimized and after a while that victimization turned into something better or turned into something that worked for you? Or did you die? I mean, it could be that basic. I've been a victim before and then I die. I mean, it might, if you really got to stretch for it, but make it a high quality question however you can. You know, did this put me in a position where, you know, I can't come back from? Did this victimization and this choice and decision put me in any position that I cannot come back from? Have I ever come back from a deficit and not made it? It could be even quality questions like that. So the spiritual practice, which I call this is like the renewal of the mind, right? This is not in just Christianity, but it's also in Hindu philosophy, a lot of different philosophies about the renewing of the mind. And so the renewal affirmation is each morning before you reach for your phone, before the noise of the day begins, take 2 minutes to speak 3 high quality thoughts out loud, not wishes, not hopes, declarations. Speak them as though they are already true. Example, my mind is clear. I trust my ability to handle what comes. I am guided. I am grounded. And this is not spiritual bypassing, it is mental conditioning, right? You are deciding each morning which groove to reinforce. Remember, because we're creating that new neural pathway. And so we want to not keep activating that same groove with waking up and like, here we go again. I got to work so hard every day, right? And you do it sometimes with, it's like your morning cup of coffee. You're so used to it, you don't realize how much damage is bringing into your life. So, any thoughts or just feedback on the 3? Oh, I like Shantae put what lesson did I learn? Absolutely. And this is, I always say when you overthink or something happens to you, you have to process it, right? And I think a lot of times when people don't process it out the gate, all the emotion is still in the thought, like, a cloud holding a bunch of rain, right? And when it rains, a cloud gets so heavy, right, with water that it rains. I feel like that's what people do when you don't process. You got to get out the anger, the frustration, the irritation. This sucks. This is whack. You don't have to go straight into the process and grieve. Like, say, this really fucking sucks, right? When you're in that grief process and you're in the emotional process part, you're not going to be able to see what lessons did I learn because that thought is so filled with emotions. It's got to rain. And I think rain is like crying. You got to take your emotions through the washing machine. Just let it out, or however you process that, and then move on to this. But I think a lot of people want to skip that part. They want to just get straight to the, okay, I'm gonna be positive. I'm not gonna think negative. They gonna and then it don't work, or they bitter the whole time and that they thought. So when people start trying to help them process or say, what lessons did you learn? Why I always got to learn a lesson, or why, how could this do this, or what ways can you work your way through? I'm tired of working through. I always have to go through that, right? And that's how that's the only when I know they haven't processed the emotions about it. They're not ready to start reframing and doing the thought thing. But when you don't allow yourself the freedom to process the emotions with it, you get stuck there. And if you remember, that was the first one. Don't name the feeling, name the thought. But until you express the feeling, you're not going to be able to really name the thought. You're going to be stuck in feeling the feeling and feeling the feeling and feeling the feeling, and you're never going to be able to do the deconstruction of your thoughts and to stop overthinking. Now you're just in this loop, and we back to that neuroplasticity groove. We like right back into this is how it always goes. All right, so sum it up. 3, name the thought, not the feeling. Step out of the emotion and into clarity. This is pending. You've already bitch and complain and vent it till you're venting muddy and punch the pillow and right, you got it out your system. 2, challenge the quality, not the volume. Ask, is this thought true, useful, and mine? And I'm telling you, when I do this with my clients, half the time it's not even theirs, especially for y'all empaths. And then 3rd, replace, don't suppress. Give your mind a better question to follow. So these are not steps you do once and then graduate from. They are practices. They are a new way of relating to your own mind. And that relationship deepens the more you tend to it. So when I was kind of really capturing like what in my recovery in overthinking, these were really the 3 steps that I found really kind of worked to condition me to stop overthinking. And then I start doing it with a few clients that really were like chronic overthinkers. And they were like, I really want to nip this in the bud. And I've sort of tried a lot of things that are out there to stop overthinking. It's not happening. And I would say for 2 out of the 3 that I actively did this, experimented on, I guess, with this coaching, I mean, it was game changers for them. And I would say the 3rd one, not because that she needs more therapy to really learn how to process her emotions more, because that's where things get stuck, for her is in the emotional body. But the other 2 was like, wow. And they were like, it's like wearing your pants on backwards. You don't realize how that groove, it's so natural for you to say, when is it going to happen? How's it going to happen? Where's it going to happen? Right. And I always say transmuting energy, you can take that, worry and turn it into wonder, right? I wonder. I just wonder. I don't worry. I wonder how it's going to work out. You can even feel it different in your body when you say, I worry about this. I wonder about this, right? You can turn that confusion into curiosity, right? You confused. I don't know how this is going to work. How's it? I don't know. And be curious. When people are curious, they're like explorers, like, oh, I wonder what's behind this wall. You know what I mean? Like explorers, like, I wonder what's beyond, this rock. And they're not going like, oh my God, I wonder what's behind this rock. Oh my gosh, I wonder where the moon goes at night. Oh, you got to be curious about it. So it's really transmuting that energy too, that allows our thoughts to start getting redirected, and we can start working on those cognitive distortions and kind of working ourselves out of that groove. So anybody want to just share any feedback? Has this been helpful? Has this been crappy? Did you have any aha moments? Does it sound like all like bull crap or hocus pocus or what? Like, because I feel like it can work. It has worked for me. Yes, it's Dr. Howes.
So I was like, I was about to start talking. I was like, oh, I didn't raise my hand. But no, the information was really, really good that was shared. I think really focusing on, I guess kind of going back to the loop of gratitude and thinking again that, everything does work out. Now, sometimes it may not work out in a way in which we may have wanted it to work out, but then in the long run, you think about like, this is what was good for me as well. And better than what I thought it was. And when you look, says hindsight is 2020, but the information you shared was really, really good, and a good reset to help us to, just again, focus back on the negative thinking, but now, putting, I guess, more into positive thinking and helping us to, process things in just a different way, seeing it from a different perspective.
Yes, thank you. I love that. Yeah, and you can fold in all kind of practices in this, your gratitude practice and things like that, to definitely be able to help you come up with really, creative ways to sort of reframe the way that you're thinking. And I always say, like, I'd rather live in the delusion of my reality than in reality, right? And even then, in your mind, it's an imagination anyway. It's like if you're in dreamland, why would you choose to have a nightmare? It's all in the imagination, so and it's just really reframing it in that place. Like I say a lot with my clients that say, what if, what if, what if? And then I'm like, what if it's in the imaginary world? So you say, what if it goes wrong? You can also say, what if it goes right? I'll play the what if game with you all day, What if they don't like it? What if they do? But what if I make a mistake? What if you don't? But I made mistakes, but what if we can be here all day. It ain't real. Why are you entertaining? It's not real. It's not real. Thoughts are just interpretations, and we can zoom out and interpret it to be a different thing. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else before we kind of close out? Well, I hope that you all can go back and, with the thought that you had about the that you wrote down today, work on that this month. I'll check with the people, I always follow up with people who are live and kind of just touch base with you to see if, how this one thought you had started to take shape over the month. Did it get better? Did you find some better quality questions? I can help you with that. If you up on AI can help you come up with some quality questions for that. Answering the questions, is this true? Is it mine? Like, how did that work? So really being able to sit and take this month to really write that down and just explore that. Don't think about nothing else. Don't think about, you know, any other the things you overthink. Just practice with this one thought that you wrote down that you feel like you overthink about, and narrow it down as much as you can. So I'll check in with you all, and I'm so grateful for you. You're taking this time for yourself, for, self-discovery and the betterment of your well-being. And I'm thankful for anything that I could share to help and just to be on this journey with you. So I love you all so very much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll be following up with y'all this week. I love y'all so much. Bye, everybody. I'm gonna stop the recording.